Tim Mathieson, the Prime Minister's partner, normally stays out of sight. But last month he told the Sunday Herald Sun he'd asked Julia Gillard to marry him one day. Last Sunday he appeared on 60 Minutes.
Tim, you said if the question is to be popped, you are going to be the popper and the Prime Minister the poppy.
That's true, absolutely.
And he showed off his shed at the lodge.
No girls allowed.
Can't you?
No girls allowed. No, I'll let you two enjoy the shed.
Come in and have a look.
How good is the Prime Minister to stand back and...
She's doing as she's told. That's really good.
She can't hear
no, she can't hear it. It's fabulous.
I'm hanging on the outside of the shed as instructed.
Joining me is program psychologist Sandy Ray. Sandy, what's the strategy here? What's she trying to send us? What message?
Well, I think the real question that needs to be asked is why is Labor and Gillard engaging in this sort of behaviour? Why are they now putting their relationship out for display for everybody? And I think the answer partly lies in the opinion polls. Increasingly, we're hearing the electorate is more and more disenfranchised with Julia. Her popularity is going down the gurgler. And I think for women, this is actually hitting a bit of a chord with them. What's going on with this woman? We've got a woman who, by all accounts, ticks all the right boxes about being a feminist. She's done an incredible job and been an amazing role model for a lot of Australian women. And now what we see, her credibility is quite shattered, or equally with the mining tax, with the carbon dioxide tax, and people are saying, is this woman truthful? And by inference, does she have integrity? And that's what's under fire. So
you think bringing out Tim Mathieson, and it seems to me a bit of a strategy, is to try to answer the question, I guess, well, who's the real Julia?
Who's the real Julia? And more importantly, is she someone that women can identify with? Because I think that is really a crisis issue for her. I think a lot of the female voters have actually fallen away from her.
But does this actually answer that question, who the real Julia is? So we have a feminist in the lodge, you have the first female Prime Minister, but then she stands outside her boyfriend's shed and does as she's told. Does this actually answer the question?
No, I don't think it does answer the question at all. It's not the real Julia at all. I think it's a series of quite significant contradictions that she's actually presenting, because we've got the feminist and then we've got this woman who's deciding that whilst I'm a role model, I'm actually going to defer and play little schoolgirls and giggle and laugh on camera about whether or not Tim is going to ask her to marry her or not.
Is the problem in part that we still haven't got used to the idea of a bloke in the lodge, particularly one that doesn't have a full-time job?
Well, I was wondering when I looked at the 60 Minutes interview, is it that he has actually been emasculated? Is there a public perception that Tim has actually been emasculated, and this is part of the job of now building him up as well, and that he's scratching around in the dirt saying, well, we're only going to get married when I do the asking, you know, and it's just all a little bit... Awkward moment, you know.
Sandy Ray, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
This carbon dioxide tax, these billions of dollars our governments are spending to cut emissions, none of it will make any real difference to the world's temperature. Zip. But don't hear it from me. Hear it from the Gillard government's own global warming advisor, Professor Ross Garnaut.
And what do you say to those people who say, well, Australia's input alone wouldn't be enough to really have any effect on the world's atmosphere?
Well, that's dead right. Well, it would have a very small effect.
So why all this pain for zero gain? I know, crazy. James Breckney works in community radio, which of course means he's also a global warming alarmist. But on the ABC's Q&A this week, he pretended he was a crazy skeptic.
I'm not a climate scientist, but climate change is still disputed by experts. Why are we teaching it in schools as a scientific fact? Like gravity, it's just a theory.
Every skeptic does believe in the laws of gravity, of course. Breckney was clearly a fake. Yet not one person on the Q&A panel spotted it. Certainly not Education Minister Peter Garrett or Mike Carlton, a Sydney broadcaster.
Well, hang on a minute.
Hey, look, gravity, boom, see? His hat, gravity.
Carlton really does think skeptics are this nutty, which tells you how well they've been demonised, not least, again, on the ABC. Now, we've talked about yesterday's Nielsen poll showing Labor's vote at a record devastating low, and Julia Gillard's approval ratings in the death zone. But the Sydney Morning Herald's chief political correspondent, Philip Coorey, did his amazing best yesterday to put a positive spin on it for the left.
Support for the government's plan to put a price on carbon has increased in the past month, and Julia Gillard has been given the thumbs up for her handling of the war in Afghanistan and of education, in a poll that is otherwise horrific for Labor.
For that brave attempt to find hope in the hopeless, Philip, you are the deserving winner of the Bolt Report's first Rose-Coloured Glasses Award. And that's the show. Thanks for watching. Now, join our debate by sending me an email here at 10. The address is on your screen. Or check out my blog, Big Debate there. Stay with us. Meet the Press is next with Paul Bongiorno. His guest this week is Independent MP Rob Oakeshott and CFMEU boss Tony Marr, an alarmist. I'm Andrew Bolt. Look forward to your company here next week. Goodbye.